All right, welcome back. I'm sorry for that. Join in. Share the link. If there's anyone that joined in the first session and didn't wasn't able to, yeah. If there's anyone that joined the first session that just join. Send the link back to them. I actually, if you notice, the time is 9:30. I actually thought I finished the live, and I went to check if there were any questions, but I discovered that. So, yeah. There's no one that just send the link back to them. I actually, if you notice, the time is 9:30. I actually thought I finished the live. So I was saying I actually thought I finished the live, and I came to check for questions, but I discovered that we're not live anymore, which is so sad. But we're going to make the best of the next few minutes we have. I don't have a good way to monitor this. Let me put it on my screen so I ensure I'm monitoring the live. All right, sorry about that. Welcome back. I'm sorry for the break in transmission. And yes, okay. Is this still breaking? Is this still breaking? Is this still breaking? Is this still breaking? Oh my god. I don't know why we're having so many technical issues, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Definitely, we'll be fine. Um, let's get right into it. Thank you so much for joining the stream once again. I know the time is not correct. Like we're meant to be live by 9 o'clock, but we had some technical issues, and we're going to get right into it yesterday we started by talking about the importance of community and how the creator that creates for longevity ensures that they prioritize community, right? Community is very important. Talk about creating for empathy. Actually, in the first session that I did, we went in depth into a review of yesterday, a recap of yesterday, but because of time, get straight into it. But if you notice, one thing we talked about yesterday is how one of the ways to build community by building structures for interaction and engagement, right? The more structures you have in place for interaction and engagement, the more people get to know, like, and trust you. Simple, right? In real life, we can see this example. If I have somebody that is just a classmate, I just see the person in school, and the only thing I know about them is that that's all fine and good. But the moment um, we are in the same group, for example, lab group, and we have to conduct experiments together. Now, in the midst of, oh, is the reading correct? Pass the scapula, pass the this, pass the that. That person moves from being just a classmate to being an acquaintance, right? Because we are acquainted, right? That means I can see the person on the road and recognize the person, right? What happened? Interaction. The more we interact, if we now like say, okay, let's start studying together, right? Because I notice the person is smart, the person has values similar to mine. I'm like, oh, Frank, let's start studying together, right? We start studying together, we have more interactions, we get to know each other. She can start to move from acquaintance to friend, from friend to very close friend, etc. Right? But what is bridging the gap between all this is what? Interaction. So definitely, that is the more interaction you have with your audience, the more likely you are to build that community. Do you understand? So, okay, I thought my life was stopped again. I was like, kilo mami. But yeah, so the more you have interactions, the more you can actually the more that brings us to stories, right? Stories is so important. And you know, like before I started this quest of mine to explore stories, I was looking through YouTube to find videos specific to stories, right? Videos about story updates, videos about story strategies and all that. And I noticed that most of the content about stories were embedded within general content about Instagram or Instagram um strategies and all that. And I was like, if nobody is creating specific videos about stories, does that mean stories are not that important? So I went off for a moment thinking stories are not important until I did more into research and I realized, and by even logic and by just numbers, we can find out that stories are very huge, right? It said that about 500 no, about 50% of all the users in the US of social media actually interact with stories on a daily basis. On a daily basis. That's a lot. That's a lot of people, right? And even beyond that, there are a couple of reasons why stories are important. So let's look at the importance of stories. And from there, we'll dive into how you can actually leverage stories to maximize community. By the way, this is focusing on Instagram stories, and because Instagram story is what I know. Instagram story is what I've used for the longest, and I have a general idea of Instagram stories. You TikTok have stories. I don't know much about TikTok stories. I definitely need to research more, but I believe that most of what we talk about today would be applicable to TikTok stories and you community tab, YouTube community tab, because yeah, um YouTube community tab is actually, YouTube doesn't have stories, but YouTube community tab is actually the equivalent of stories in the sense that you're able to build your community, in the sense that it has interactive tools. So if no matter the platform you're on, I think it'll be very, very relevant to you. And story is important, number one, because of visibility. And when I say visibility, story is literally top of the mind when you're on Instagram. And I'm going to show you quickly in my Instagram what that looks like, right? Let me get to it. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. When I open my Instagram, the first thing I see is at the top of the screen is the story tab, right? Is the story tab. And the fact that the story tab is so visible and so um top of mind means that people are likely to click on it, right? And think about it. When you see like the profile picture of someone that you are interested in what they posted in their story, like this is my pastor, right? Pastor Karis. And of course, when Pastor Karis posts a story, I want to see what the pastor posts today, right? I check it out, right? It gives me, without me seeing them on my feed, it gives me an opportunity to interact. Do you understand? So stories are top of mind, literally, right? So that's just by the way, not by the way, very important. Stories are also very good for engagement. Like I always talk about the interactive features, right? The interactive features of story have so many interactive features. Let me show you an example. Stories have so many interactive features. For example, if I wanted to, let me see what's in my gallery today. Okay, I have this picture of the grid, right? The Instagram grid. And did you know that Instagram actually changed the way their grid looks? Right? Before it used to be squares, now it's longer grids, right? So for example, if I notice this and I wanted to post stories, we can see that there are a lot of features. There's adios, frames, cutouts, so many things. And the thing is that with so many tools, if you give a creative person many tools, there's always a very unique way that they can leverage these tools to make something unique, right? So because of all these interactive things, you're able to have avenues to engage with your audience. I could say questions, right? I could say, since my channel is primarily for creators, I could say, what do you think about the new IG feed? question mark, right? And then done. Now people are able to interact with this, right? And when they share their opinions and I respond back, it creates sparks of conversation. They're able to relate more, right? So that's another thing. Stories have very interactive features. Stories also drive traffic, and this is a big one. This is a big one. It's a very big one, and in fact it makes it a no-brainer for us to use stories. What do I mean by drive traffic? I don't mean it is a traffic warden on Lagos Express. No, no, no. I mean stories. When you have things that are outside on external platforms, for example, you release an ebook, or you have a YouTube video you are promoting, or you want people to join your community, right? You cannot build all of this within Instagram. Story is a very good avenue for you to link people to external resources, right? On the flip side, on your reels, you can say, oh, click the link in my bio. I can say DM this and I'll send you that, right? But stories is an opportunity to actually put links where people can find external sources, right? This is a game changer, definitely. And another thing is that you can also set up automations. You can set up automations so that people, when people react or DM you or react to your stories or react to your stories, to certain stories, you can set up automations that would send them certain things or send them links, send them gifts, etc. Right? And I'm going to show you an example, but I won't teach you how to do it today because I want to make a reel on that. So that you're incentivized to watch my reel, I'll just show you the aftermath, how it works, right? So this is another account, and I'm going to send Isaac the creator a DM. This one I sent before, I was showing you in our live that did not record, but I'll go to show you again, right? When I type live, it automatically sends me, oh, great choice to attend Kreate. Join us live or watch the replay on the channel. Then when I click this link, it takes me where? It's taking time. Takes me to YouTube, right? Where I can join the live. You get? So obviously, these automations are very useful, right? In this case, it's just someone joining my live, but in other cases, it can literally be what builds your business, right? Some of you are building businesses, some of you might have other things you want to link to. So this ability to automate, right, is a game changer. So definitely watch out for my next reel. And yeah, that's, I believe so far you are convinced on the importance of stories, right? So let's get into how you can actually leverage stories to maximize community building. How do you actually leverage stories to maximize community building? First of all, it's important. You can't talk about stories without talking about behind the scenes content. In fact, in today's world, especially because of artificial intelligence and because of just the sheer amount of finished products that are so good out there, many people want to connect on a deeper level. So as much as I want to see cool films and cool designs and cool stuff that people have, there's this yearning to deeper stuff. Like, how do you get to this point? How did you make it? What's the process like? What does your studio look like? It's so fascinating now. It wasn't as much before. Before, Instagram and other social media platforms were perfectly curated. No showing the dirty work, no showing the workings, it's just perfectly created. But now people want to see the workings, right? So story gives you an opportunity to dive deeper in that, because stories are actually low effort content in some sense, because what you can post on stories, in many cases you can't post it on the feed, right? Because many times stories, the feed has to be more polished, right? It's like the feed is like a formal introduction of yourself, while the story, you can post behind the scenes content. Do you understand? So behind the scenes content is a very big way to build engagement. You build engagement. Some of the best story content that I've had are behind the scenes content. Do you understand? Very amazing way. Another way is, utilizing interactive content. And for this, I will encourage you to experiment and experiment and experiment. Try everything. Go to your Instagram, go to your Instagram. Let me show you. Go to your Instagram and go to stories. Instagram. When I go to stories and I click plus, right? Let's say I add an image, right? So now I've added this image. Once you click on this sticker icon on the top, you are going to see, not now, you are going to see many options, right? You see location, mention, music, photo, blah 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 blah. As much as possible, try all of them. Try, creative ways to use them. Do you get? Try to, because why am I saying this? Because when you use interactive posts, it's good for you in the sense that when people interact, Instagram actually recognizes it as a good thing, and Instagram will push your story out more, which will give you more reach. But at the same time, it's just a fun way to interact with people, right? So you use different, try them out. I can't give you specific recommendations, but I think my favorite is the question one. I love the question one so much because you can actually have real-time conversations depending on how you craft the question. Another one I like, of course, I like the link one. The review one can be good for products. Let's say you have a product launch, right? And then you can reveal it, or there's an information you need to hide, you can reveal it, right? Blah 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 blah. Experiment with it. You get? So that's for interactive content. Of course, visual storytelling, you can build up, like I before. Stories usually, one way that people use stories a lot, which I have a reservation about, is many people primarily use stories to just repost the reels that they've already done, or repost the content they already have on their page, right? Like so that they'll get more eyeballs on it, so that more people will see it, right? And logically that can make sense. Like, of course, you want to get more eyeballs on it, but here are my arguments against doing that in that way. Number one, the way people interact with stories, if people wanted to see, they would be on their feed, not on stories. People click on stories because they want to see stories, right? And the general idea of stories is not real content, right? So when people do not interact, or when people even click off stories because they see things like that, Instagram will now deprioritize your reels. It will mean your stories. It will mean that Instagram would say, oh, your story, people did not interact, therefore your story is not good, therefore they deprioritize it. And if this keeps happening over and over, Instagram can conclude that, oh, you are not good at using this feature called stories, and you're not making people happy, so they deprioritize your stories in general, right? Which is not good for you as a creator, right? So what our advice is, in reposting your content and reposting other people's content, what is important is context. So whenever you post something on your story is like your community hub. It's like where people hang out in your community, right? In some sense. So imagine you enter a room filled with people, and the people are, let's say, they are there for you, right? Then you now put a random video that has nothing to do with you, with no context. People are like, what's going on? So one way to leverage that is to give context, right? Even if give people, why, answer the question, why should I watch that, right? Why should I click on this reel that you reposted? Do you understand? So a context can be like, you even start a build up. Hi guys, so I've never done a voiceover before and I tried it. Although at first I was resistant, I decided that why not give it a go. What do you think? You link your reel that you posted. Now people have context to why they are going to watch it, right? They're like, oh, this is our first voiceover, let's see how it sounds. And then they come give you feedback. Do you understand? That's context. Another thing is like reposting other stuff, right? Maybe something made you laugh and then you repost it so other people will laugh. You still need to give context. This made me laugh. That in itself is context enough for people to still treat your story as a you thing, not just a place where they just see random things that they haven't, they don't know what to do about it. You get? So that's why repost your content. Do you understand? Then another thing is having actual series on your story, right? One thing I encourage, and one thing that works a lot, is when you treat your story as a platform of its own. So it's not just an avenue to repost content that you already did, but treating it as a platform of its own. And I've seen people be very successful in this, having actual series on their stories, right? Like I think Salem King used to have something called AMA Friday, Ask Me Anything Friday, right? And he would go and respond to all the questions that are asked with random pictures that on a normal day you would not see, right? Maybe a picture of Salem King eating Indomie, right? And then he answers your question like, oh, how often do you create? And it depends on kidding, whatever. Do you get? So series, right? It can be a day in a life. Maybe on Wednesdays you just decide that, oh, you are going to show what it is like as a day in a life. So in the morning, you know you're about to leave for school or you are eating breakfast, you snap your breakfast, like, oh, day in a life Wednesday, follow me throughout today, right? And then you are going to book your keke, you now snap your keke, stepping into the new, stepping into my day one cake at it. I don't know, I'm just thinking of dry jokes, but yeah, that you enter class, snap, you come back, then you get ready for Kreate, and then you start Kreate, and then you're like, good night, right? A day in a life, right? Very, very interactive. People that are your core audience would actually be interested. Oh, what's a day in a life? You know, like maybe you go to university and like, oh, you sleep in class too. I also sleep in class. Stuff like that, right? They can relate, building rapport, etc. Right? So treating your story as an actual platform, you understand? And I'm learning a lot from this as well. So I think so. There are different, ideas, serious ideas. Like I said, day in a life, ask me anything, tips and tricks. You can also have this cool thing that I've seen creators doing, which is called story takeover, right? And that means for a day, someone else will take over their stories, and it's just a fun thing, right? Maybe like you give, I don't even know how they do it, because will you give like your account details to somebody else? I don't know how they do it, but yeah, I've seen people do story takeovers. Maybe they're like, oh, one of their followers will take over their stories for a day, right? And just see what they post, right? And it's very fun and interactive. So um definitely you have to think about creative ways to leveraging stories. Now the last thing I want to talk to you about is analytics. And what are analytics? Analytics are basically measures of how people are engaging with whatever you're posting, right? Because let's be real, as creators, most of what we're doing many times is experimentation. Even if something has worked for somebody else, even if it is general advice, the truth is that you are unique, you are your own person. Meaning, and what this means is that the fact that you're unique means that since you are surrounded by specific circumstances, whatever works is still subject to your unique situation. Do you understand? Therefore, you cannot entirely be sure that whatever you're doing is working unless you test it. Meaning that for you to test and know what is actually working, you need numbers, you need statistics, mathematics, how many people clicked, how many people interacted, how many people did this. And from that, you can make informed decisions. Albert Einstein said that if you continue doing the same thing over and over, expecting the same result, you are I forgot what to call the person, right? But only a maybe let's maybe a fool, or only somebody, yeah, I think he's a fool. Only a fool, does the same thing over and over and expect different results, right? You cannot, if you are doing something that is not working, as much as consistency is good, if you are consistent in something that is not working, I'm afraid you will not make any progress, right? So metrics are important, meaning that whatever you're doing on stories, you have to pay attention to metrics, right? And what are the key metrics? Let's talk about a couple of key metrics on Instagram and what they mean and how you can make decisions with them. So I'm going to go back to my Isaac the Creator Instagram to show you, and that's the last thing we'll do tonight. I hope you're learning something. Hope it's not boring. Hope it's insightful. Hope it's challenging you. Hope you are making up your mind to leverage stories. Right? So I'm going to share now. So when you come to your stories, so this is an example of a story. You actually see, okay, this was posted recently, so I might not see insight, right? So when you click on stories, the first thing you'd see when you click on stories and you swipe up, when it's your own account and you swipe up, it's not a reply, right? It is, first of all, you see people that viewed it. Yes. Now, this is cute and all, but that's not very important to you, knowing the people that viewed it. What is more important to you is this tab, the metric tab, right? So the first thing you see are the views, the interactions. Interaction basically means how many people interacted with whatever you put there, right? Like if it was polls, how many people voted on the poll? If it was, polls can be good for quizzes and stuff like that. If it were polls, how many people viewed? So you can see here views, 18 views, 2 interactions, meaning 2 people liked, and just I should have given context to this based on what I'm putting today, right? I've given story as to why I posted it. I think that would definitely have gotten better interactions, right? So 2 interactions. Then you have views to show you how many percent are your followers, how many percent are your non-followers, right? So when your story, when most of your stories are from your followers, and it shows that okay, these followers are viewing your story. But when a lot of them are from your non-followers, it means it's actually a good thing. It means your followers, your story is doing very well. The Instagram is even doing it to people that don't follow you, right? People that don't follow you, meaning that people are coming to your account and people are viewing your story from, you can view somebody's story that you're not following, right? Basically, that's what it means. But the thing I'm most interested in is actually down here. You have likes. Likes are okay. Replies are good. Replies and shares are rare on stories, but sometimes people share. Replies are important for stories where the action requires replying, right? So if your action is DM for something, and people, let's say 18 people view, but only 2 people reply, that means there's something you can do better about your story, right? If 100 people view and 30 people reply, that's a good number. It's a fair number. It's what you would expect. You'd actually generally expect 30%. Especially, yeah, you generally expect 30%, right? Now, navigation is also a metric you need to pay attention to, right? When people forward, that's generally an okay thing, right? It means they want to see the next story. When people actually go back, right? There's no back here. Nobody went back because I only had 1 story, so nobody can go back. So when people go back, it means that it can give you a clue that people, based on the story they saw now, they wanted to see the story before that you posted before, right? So depending on your context, that can be a good thing. It can either mean people are confused and they want to check again, check what you said in the last story, or it can mean people, maybe there's a reveal and then people are going to go back to see, oh, so now this makes sense. Do you understand? So understanding that when people exit, that's actually a very bad thing. So if you have a story that a lot of people are exiting, it's signaling Instagram that people are just swiping off stories, like because they saw your story, their vibe for stories just died that day, right? So you don't want people. So now when you look at this as individual posts, it's okay. You can give an idea of how that story is doing. But here's where it gets powerful. This is where it gets powerful. When you come to your settings and you see archive, you have all the stories you have ever posted, right? And when you can, maybe go a month back or 2 months back and just study your stories one by one. Just study them. Which kind of stories did better? Which kind of stories did not do as well, right? Just study your stories. This was a story I posted, right? Look at the analytics. Oh, it reached 47 accounts, 4.3 were non-followers, right? Forwards, the exits were not too little, not too many. The backs, there were a couple of backs. Forwards are okay, right? Interactions, 1, there wasn't really anything to interact with, but it's fine. So I can just look at this, keep looking at all the stories. You are going to notice a trend. You are going to realize the stories that did better, the stories that did not do as well, and you want to double down on the stories that did better, right? So I have not gone through as much, but if I go through, I would find the stories that are outliers. You find out, what did those stories talk about? How was the position? Did people take action? For example, this story, um I posted a YouTube video and then I marketed it on my story, right? So I can see, okay, the views were okay, 52 views, right? Now what I'm looking for, link clicks, right? I put a link. How many people will click the link? 3 people click the link, right? Then I actually followed up twice. So now I can now see, is it even effective to follow up with your link again? This one doesn't have link click, but let's see the content. It says, why haven't you yet clicked? And then I now said, okay, I'm not angry, but still click, right? Let me see if the link clicks. I have one link click. So that one person that did not click the link in those 2 previous posts eventually clicked it, meaning that maybe it makes some sense to, repost links, right? So, using this kind of information, you can make decisions, right? And then the last one, I'm sure this one will have link clicks still. 3 link clicks, right? And what happened? Let me see if it used to be me watching my videos. I remember when my first 8 views used to be me watching this 8 times, but now I check my video and it has 8 views. That's 8 human beings actually watching my video. So yeah, whatever story I shared there actually moves people to still click it, right? So now I know, I can tell that this kind of thing works in some sense, right? How can I make it better, etc. So you want to spend time understanding your metrics and using them to make decisions. Thank you so much for today. I'm sorry once again for what happened, with the live initially, and definitely we would definitely, hopefully you got all the value I wanted to pour initially, and definitely tomorrow we would follow up with today's class and it will be better and amazing. So thank you so much, and if you have any questions, be sure to drop it on the community. Always there to answer your questions. I wish you a wonderful evening. Goodbye. How was today's session? I hope you enjoyed it. If it's, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section. Now, to ensure that you put everything you learned into practice, we are building a community of creators just like me and you that come together to keep each other accountable, to share ideas, and to grow together. The name of this community is called Kreate Community. To be a part of this community is simple and it's free. All you have to do is click the link pinned in the live chat or the link in the description. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow. Bye.